Let's talk about 5 guinea pig cage mistakes. Hey, it's Scotty. I'm a volunteer at the Los Angeles Guinea Pig Rescue, and when we're talking with potential guinea pig adopters, one of the requirements of the adoption process is having the proper cage. Now, we ask to see a photo of the cage if someone already has one, or we ask that they purchase an appropriate cage either from us or from someone, and that they show us that cage. So let's talk about 5 mistakes that we see a lot at the Los Angeles Guinea Pig Rescue and that I see when I'm communicating with people here on the channel. So the first and most important requirement of a cage is that it has a minimum of 10 square feet for a pair of piggies and a minimum of 8 square feet in the situation where you have side-by-side single pigs. I have a free guinea pig care guide on my website, and the second section is all about guinea pig cage setup. We go over the types of cages that we recommend, the materials that you need, or how to build it yourself, or where to get them, places that I recommend. Now, these are called CNC cages behind me. It stands for cubes and coroplast, and it's these grid cubes that you see in college dorm rooms that you can use for organizing, things like that. And the other C stands for coroplast. It's the corrugated plastic that we use to make the base of these. So I recommend for a pair of guinea pigs a minimum of 10 square feet and 8 square feet if your piggies are living side by side. And on my care guide, I've got in the very first section all about cage mates and piggies living together and what combinations we recommend and which to avoid. But number one, the biggest mistake that people make is they get an inappropriate cage and a cage that's much too small. Now, the second mistake that we see a lot, which really should go without saying, but we see it more than we'd like to, is a wire bottom cage. Now, in the cage setup section of my care guide, I recommend the types of cages that we recommend at the Los Angeles Guinea Pig Rescue, and I show you all about those. And there's no reason to reinvent the wheel, but whether this is a carryover from forgotten old times when we didn't have this ability to share the information worldwide like we do today, or maybe it's just, I don't know, I can't figure out why someone would want to use a wire bottom cage. They can hurt guinea pigs' feet, they can cause bumblefoot, they are really, to be honest, harder to clean than a cage like this. And if you watch the videos I have in the cage setup section of my care guide, I also go into ways of cleaning, methods that I use to make cleaning your guinea pig cage quick and easy. So why someone would want a wire bottom cage, I don't know. It can be really dangerous. They can catch their feet in them, it can cause sores, and they're just not appropriate. So the third mistake that we see a lot involves bedding. Now, cedar shavings have oils that are toxic, and you should never use cedar with your piggies. Now, the types of wood shavings, if you want to use those, that we recommend at the Los Angeles Guinea Pig Rescue are kiln-dried pine. It must be kiln-dried because it evaporates oils, but there is still online, there is kind of a ongoing back and forth argument about, oh, does it remove enough of those oils? Is it still harmful? In my experience and watching for over a decade at the Los Angeles Guinea Pig Rescue, we don't see any issues using kiln-dried pine at the rescue. But if you feel more comfortable with another type of shavings, aspen is a really good choice. It's not as soft as kiln-dried pine, but it doesn't have those oils that some people are concerned about, even though in my experience and at the Los Angeles Guinea Pig Rescue, we have not seen any issue using pine shavings as long as it's kiln-dried to remove those oils. So no cedar, kiln-dried pine is fine, or aspen is also fine. But you can see behind me the type of bedding that I like, and you can see how many cages I have here is fleece. What I like about fleece is that you can change it quickly and it keeps your piggies dry, and it's very soft. And you want to change the fleece every day or so, and that's why I have strategies on my cage setup section of my care guide for the best ways to use fleece. I like to layer it. I like to have smaller pieces of fleece that are under the houses and in high traffic areas like where they eat. Piggies tend to eat, sleep, and poop all in one spot, and that's where I keep smaller fleece pads that I can pick up and dump out very easily. I have a number of videos in the cage setup playlist and cage setup section of my care guide that explain ways to save you time and money and make it easy for you to clean your cages quickly. And with all these cages here, I switched from pine shavings to fleece because I can keep these cages drier and cleaner every day, and it's just faster. Okay, now it does take some investment in fleece. If you know somebody, or if you have a sewing machine, you can make purposefully made fleece pads for guinea pigs with the top and bottom layer of fleece and then an absorbent layer of like a cotton batting or a U-Haul pad, something like that. And you can do a quick Google search or search on Etsy for guinea pig fleece liners, fleece pads, and down in the video description below there are links to my favorite fleece pads, and there's also links to those fleece liners in the cage setup section of my care guide. So please check those out. I'll be referring a lot in videos to my free guinea pig care guide and all the resources on my website, because after years and years of putting this together, I wanted to share everything that I've learned volunteering at the rescue and talking with all of you out there so that we can share our best practices. One other note of caution is I don't really recommend just using a plain fleece blanket or towels. Some people have found that they found bath mats at like the Dollar Tree and places like that, or they've found, you know, Chanel, that little finger type fluffy pads. Those may work, but you will find that if you invest in guinea pig purposefully made fleece liners that are designed for guinea pigs, for guinea pig cages, they last basically forever. The more you wash them, the more absorbent they become. And remember, the top layer wicks through to that middle layer. So just using plain fleece blankets, it's just going to wick down and make whatever the bottom of your cage dirty. So towels, in a pinch, these things can work, but really for the long haul, I really recommend using fleece or some type of pet safe wood shavings like aspen or kiln dried pine. The fourth guinea pig cage mistake involves not cleaning the cage enough. And like we were talking about, having fleece or having pine shavings. Now, pine shavings or wood shavings with a nice thick layer, that should get you about 5 to 7 days, depending on exactly how big the cage is, how many piggies you have in the cage, etc. But generally speaking, the wood shavings can go a little bit longer than the fleece pads. But what I like about the fleece pads is that you can change them very fast and easy, and overall those cages will be cleaner more frequently. They'll just stay cleaner. You can keep them cleaner, and so that's why I like it. But the big mistake that some people make is that they're just not cleaning their cage enough. A thick layer of wood shavings should get you about a week, give or take. But sometimes people switch to fleece from wood shavings and they think that they still can go about a week or so. Those fleece pads will absorb and get really gross within a day or two. And also, the grosser they are, these fleece pads, the harder it is to wash them and the dirtier that laundry washing water will be. And it's just a lot easier to change them quickly every day, and you'll find that you get into a rhythm, and your piggies, believe me, they will thank you when they have a consistently clean cage. So make sure that you're keeping your cage clean and that you've got a regular cleaning regimen, and that you're not going too long between cages. A wet, dirty cage can cause bumblefoot, can cause sores, can cause urine scald, where the irritation of the skin, the fur can actually fall out, and it can cause respiratory infections if they're breathing in this toxic ammonia from the pee. So keep those cages clean and try to get on a regular schedule. And when in doubt, just clean the cage. Not that big of a deal. The fifth guinea pig cage mistake that I see a lot is inappropriate cages for guinea pigs. And usually what we're talking about these vertical cages with multiple levels and ramps, and each level is really small. Now, like a chinchilla cage where there's different platforms and chinchillas bounce up and down and stuff, it's not appropriate for guinea pigs. Ferret cages, cages like that, not appropriate. There's a reason why we have gravitated to a certain type of cage or a certain dimensions of cage. Now, bigger, more space, a bigger cage is always better, but the cage should be as much horizontal space that's uninterrupted as possible. So you want to have a large horizontal space, and if you have a loft or something, that's fine, but it doesn't count towards the minimum size. So a minimum 10 square feet for a pair of piggies, and not some weird tall cage that has a bunch of steep ramps and areas where your piggies can fall down. It's just not appropriate. People tell me all the time at the rescue when we're looking at their cages,
"Oh, well, I got this and it was very expensive, and this is the cage we've got."
well, just because it was expensive doesn't mean it's right. It's an expensive mistake. Hopefully they can return it. If not, it's got to go on Craigslist. It's better to get rid of that cage now and get the appropriate cage. It's never too late to give your piggies the proper care and the proper cage. So those are my 5 guinea pig cage mistakes, but here's one bonus cage mistake that I see a lot. And that is, even if someone has a nice big cage, they put too much stuff in it. They've got more houses than they have piggies. They've got tunnels. They've got little toys everywhere, hay racks, all this stuff. You want to imagine that your cage is like a NASCAR circuit. So if you've got a big space like this, you don't want to interrupt it with stuff. You want to have, if you're going to have a tunnel, see, you can see back here, these tunnels, they're actually not up against the edge. There is enough space for them to go in a circle, in a big circle. My finger's not going in the right direction. And you want to not impede their ability to run through the whole length of the cage. So that's why I really love these tunnels, these wooden tunnels. They're really great. The corner houses are also good because they take up less space. Now it's up to you to figure out what kind of cages that your piggies like, but I love the Fiddlesticks tunnel. This is a wooden tunnel that's not the Fiddlesticks, but it's very similar, and it gives them the feeling of security, but it also gives them free range to continue to move around. So you don't want to clutter their space. You want to give them what they need, but not a whole lot more. So keep that in mind. Don't clutter up that space. I see it a lot, and it's a mistake. And one last thing I'll say about cage size is, like I said, 10 feet minimum for a pair, 8 square feet minimum for a single living side by side with another piggy. And you don't want to go smaller than that. And floor time is not an excuse for a small cage. You can't just say, oh, well, my piggies, they get to run around for a little bit, of, even an hour or whatever. They get to run around free, and then at night I put them in a small cage. They always need access to an appropriate size cage. Unless there's some medical emergency or very specific reason why they're in a small cage, they need to always have access to that minimum 10 square feet for a pair of piggies, and bigger for more piggies. So if you're curious about who can live with who and what the appropriate combinations are for piggies, I have a bonding rules video. I'll put that right here. And there's also an entire bonding playlist that'll teach you everything about how to get your piggies together. And I recommend that you go through a rescue. There's a worldwide rescue list on my website. There's the care guide, and there's also a link to my rescue list. So I really hope this video helps, And until next time, thanks for watching.